Welcome to the Beyond the Vines podcast, where I interview local business owners in Sonoma County to highlight small business and grow our community. I'm your host, Amy Ehlers, a mom, realtor, and Sonoma County native, and I'm excited to connect you to some amazing people in this beautiful area that we call home. Welcome back to the Beyond the Vines podcast. Thanks again for tuning in and listening. I have such an exciting lineup for summer of businesses that I'm not particularly familiar with, and this is how I learn and kind of see what's around us and share that with all of you. So thank you again for listening. I am here today with Jason and Rebecca Moorhouse. They're the co-owners of Nostalgia Alley in Petaluma. Jason and Rebecca opened Nostalgia Alley in November of 2018. Jason's journey into the gaming world started at a young age, playing games since he was around 4 years old, and began his impressive collection of games in 2007. But Jason's life isn't just about games. He's also a dedicated father to a 4-year-old and has been coaching college wrestling for an impressive 16 years. Yeah. When he's not immersed in the game world or on the wrestling mat, Jason enjoys relaxing with his wife, often while savoring a refreshing Mexican Coke. We're excited to hear more about his experiences and story behind Nostalgia Alley. Next, I also want to introduce you to Rebecca, who holds a degree in recreational therapy and is an incredibly talented artist. She has a passion for gardening and started her journey into the world of video games after watching her brother play Legend of Zelda on the N64. The moment she saw you could ride a horse in the game, she was hooked. Rebecca is also an extraordinary mom. When she finds time to relax, she loves tending to their goats and chickens. Her diverse interests and talents bring a unique and vibrant energy to Nostalgia Alley. So with that, I welcome Jason and Rebecca.
Hey guys.
Welcome. I'm so glad you were able to come in today and make this happen. I know it's a lot when you're a store owner and getting it covered and kids and all the things. So I appreciate you being here today.
Yeah. So. It was crazy. Right before the podcast was supposed to start, we were super busy at the store, so it was like, we gotta go. But it worked out.
Fails, right? I didn't expect it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point, because it's a holiday.
I was driving to work and I saw the restaurant parking lots full, and I was like, this is unusual for a Wednesday. And I was like,
we didn't map that out very well. You're right.
That's okay, though.
They always say, in real estate, if you're slow, book a trip, because that's when it's going to get crazy.
So,
yep.
So I think that's why we wanted to start a business. We never knew what that would be in different times in our life. I think she wanted to do something else and I wanted to do something else, and it just kind of worked out where we both liked video games. And
I think where it really sparked between us the idea of it, just really in the initial part, was so we met each other at working at a day program with adults with disabilities. Mm-hmm. We worked there for about 4 years together. Anyway, that's how we met.
Wow.
Long time.
And so I have a degree in recreational therapy. And when we started there, they kind of have really low, because they didn't have the resources. I don't want to sound bad, but because they didn't have the resources, they kind of low standards for some of their activities for adults specifically. Right. And it's just hard if you don't have the training to know that they could do way more than this. And so him and I started doing groups and activities with them. And then one thing that happened was the nonprofit kept saying they didn't have money for art supplies, and I really like doing art with them. And I was like, okay, how can we make money? So him and I started basically a tiny business within the nonprofit with the folks. We had them help us. They did that. We created activities, we make wrap bracelets and things, bookmarks.
Record clocks.
I forgot. Wow. We ended up doing a lot more work on those ones. But we tried. They helped.
There were some funny stories of that, though, going to Goodwill and buying clocks.
Oh my gosh.
We would bust them up with them.
We would get the hammers in their hands and smash clocks open.
What a great idea.
Yeah, we were into it. And
that's super cute.
And then we started twice a year. We would do something called craft fairs where we would set everything up and then have them help us count money and sell the items and stuff. And so basically that was our first experience.
Yeah.
You liked the money part of it. And I liked the craft side of it, which basically segues to our business where we both had really different kind of areas where we were
skill sets.
Strengths. Yeah. And so I always wanted to start a business. Maybe it's because my dad started a business. I'm not sure. But and he always had this idea. I think both of us are pretty independent. We both worked at nonprofits. Yeah. I tend to work really... I always feel bad saying this, I'm somehow making it sound too good. But I tend to work really hard at my jobs. It's just my personality.
Right.
And so when you work for others, it's really easy to work really hard. But then in the long term, you sort of kind of get depleted from doing it.
Yeah.
Because all of your your stuff kind of just goes to someone else. And
There's
so,
a lot of red tape too, and especially in the
Yeah,
nonprofit
sure,
red
world.
tape.
And so it's like we would be working towards something, and then they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
we're actually going to use that money for something else," and we
Right.
had to fight for
That's
a lot
actually
of that.
true.
That's
I
a
think
good
that happened.
point.
That was
Well, that
frustrating.
probably
Yeah.
gave you the business skills you needed, though, because
Yeah.
there's still red tape in starting a business here.
There's so much red tape in
Yeah.
California.
I mean,
Don't want to get into that, but-
absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, you probably see it all the time, too.
Absolutely, yeah. Wow, I love that. That's how you met, and that's kind of how you realized, your different strengths and got inspired for this.
The first thing is I was homesick one day. We had big guy or something.
We were
And
just
I was
talking about
sitting
big guy.
there. I don't know why I
Yeah.
get it more than most people. But I was sitting there in my tiny little studio I was renting, and we had talked about this. He was working, obviously, and I made a logo. And I'm like, what about this? And, like,
Oh my
that's literally,
gosh.
like, the beginning of, like, kind of a commitment to doing
Yeah,
something.
kicks it off.
And who knows how many years ago that was.
I mean,
2004.
I think it was 2014 is when we
14.
Wow.
really
Yeah.
were like,
Yeah, so
hey,
4
like, let's do
years.
this.
Wow.
Yeah, so I made a logo. We changed it since then because there was copyright issues.
Oh, really?
Like,
Was there?
well,
was there
I used like a
character
music
or
video
something?
or
Yeah.
something, and I
Yeah.
realized. But we used that, some of it, to make our like you could see where that came from if you saw the first one we made. That you could
Wow.
see and then we
That's so
tailored
weird.
what we were gonna
Yeah.
sell and stuff.
Well, we even
or
had like
whatever.
an acronym back then. It was like GAME, so it was like games, art, music, entertainment. So GAME.
Oh.
But then we kind of went away from that because we didn't want to do music anymore. Because like
Okay.
we wanted to really
Right.
focus
We
in
did
on
sell
video
records
games.
for a
We
while.
did, and we realized it just wasn't.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
what
too
we
much
wanted to
stuff in
focus
such a
on.
small
I was
store.
gonna say that's
Yeah.
a lot to be that broad, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I've seen other stores too when they do that kind of stuff. They like tend to not be good at
Yeah.
any one thing. They're just
Yeah.
kind of like general crafts,
Right.
and a lot of stuff falls through the cracks. At least when I would shop at those stores. So
Right.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Can you share any personal childhood memories that really influenced your passion for retro games and memorabilia?
yeah, so. Funny enough, Rebecca and I grew up in almost complete opposite sides of
Really?
the spectrum in terms of like family culture.
Interesting.
And so my family culture was non-existent. It was a lot of fighting, a lot of my dad was in and out of prison, my mom was sick
yeah.
all the time. So my brother and I constantly fought, and he was older, so he constantly beat me up. So
He constantly won.
yes, and we're not talking like picking on. I mean, it was real
brutal.
fights. It was
Okay.
pretty bad.
Yeah.
But the only time we didn't fight, no, it's
Yeah.
made me who I am, so I don't
Yep.
care too much anymore. But like the cool thing is the only time we didn't fight is when we were playing video games,
Right.
and so that was kind of like this little bonding moment for us. And I remember one time I had the chicken box when I was a kid, and we were playing through Mario 3, and I wanted to play, but he's like, "Don't touch the system, otherwise, something's gonna happen."
Right.
And I touched the system.
Oh my gosh.
And so I ended up like losing like 4 of the like 8 lives we had or whatever. And I don't think he noticed because I think his brain was a little scattered. But I was like, oh god, he's gonna be so mad. Little 4-year-old me or
That's
whatever.
so funny. I love that you had that like bonding time and how it really has carried through to your adult life, obviously.
Yeah. I think what happened is like there's like we all have these like escapes in life.
Yep.
And some escapes are better than others, and I'm not trying to say mine's good, but it works for me. So
yeah.
And that was just what it was, and there was that was happy. Like if we were playing video games, I was happy. So
I love that like take on it, that perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's actually kind of how we came to the name too, Nostalgia Alley, because like that was nostalgic for me. It wasn't, like, oh crap, like what are we gonna eat today, or what am I gonna beat up today? It was like, oh, let's play video games.
Let's play video games.
So that was cool. But then hers was like completely the opposite,
Yeah, I had a really happy family.
which I'm so happy for.
No, he was in jail. Yeah.
Well, and now you're part of her happy family.
Yeah. Her family
We
loves
just
me.
adopted
That's
him.
awesome. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, let's see. Definitely, like, I didn't realize how when I talked to people, it took me a long time to realize that computer games also were games. I don't know why. I just completely discredited them when I was talking to people early on. Mm-hmm. And then I didn't realize, like, my dad would go on a lot of, he traveled a lot for his job. Mm-hmm. And he'd always come home with, like, some computer game that was, like, just, like, so many wild games. And I forgot how many of those I played. He would play sometimes with me. But probably the biggest one would be, but there's, like, middle school summer where I really was watching my brother play. I'd seen him play lots of games, and I sort of didn't care. And then I watched him play this this game where all of a sudden I see his little character like riding a horse, and I was like, what is that? Like, that looks really fun. Like, and so then I'd watch him a little bit more. It was Ocarina of Time. It was a Zelda game. And so, like, first I was just watching him, and then, like, as he was 6 years older than me, so he sort of abandoned most of his games at some point, and I sort of just took him over. We played, to be fair, we would stay up really late, and I would watch him play Majora's Mask, and that was also a really fun memory. But that summer was kind of a shift for me. I didn't play video games probably as much as most people that come into our store. Sure. Now I play again a little more.
Do you play together?
Occasionally, yeah. A lot of the games we play though are single player games, so it's not like. But we'll play we both play the new Zelda games, kind of like sitting next to each other. Funny enough, she's actually wearing a Zelda shirt.
Oh my gosh!
Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yay. So
okay, I feel
she is
like
a nerd.
I'm not in the know. I don't totally know what Zelda is.
So Lincoln is our son, right?
Yes.
His name shortens to Link. If you think about it, that's the main character in Zelda. So that's how nerdy we are.
That's adorable. No,
but at least Lincoln, he can choose to be like, because he's growing up in a video game store. So I was like, well, it can't be something super clearly only video game related.
Like not Mario.
Yeah.
Or is that for the next one?
Say Luigi.
You can do Mario and Luigi. There we go. That's only. I think that I did play Mario.
You played Tetris.
And I played Tetris.
Yeah.
And that was probably as far as I got. That's all I need. I played Kirby, too.
Oh, Kirby's a great game, yeah.
Right, all right, I got you.
We,
whatever was on my little Game Boy, I could play.
Yeah. Well, you'll appreciate this. I was just down in Southern California, and I got to witness the Tetris World Championships.
Oh, wow.
Which, holy hell.
Mind-blowing.
It was amazing. Like,
that's so cool.
I consider myself good at the game.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here. These people are like,
wow.
over the roof. And like they invented new techniques to playing the game. So like you don't just play like this. Like you turn the controller upside down and like you.
Oh my god.
You like tap the controller. So it's because you can push the button more times like this than if you push it like this.
Wow.
And so, but these people like there's a 14.
Are they still tapping the buttons?
Yeah,
on the front?
Yeah, so they'll use the other hand to tap the A and B button, and then this hand moves the directional.
Oh my gosh.
And it's insane.
That's so cool.
I think it was a 13-year-old kid just literally beat Tetris. Like, he made it so the game broke, and which was unheard of before. But a 13-year-old kid, this kid wasn't even alive when the game came out. So it was really just mind-blowing to
That's really cool that you get to see that.
Yeah. Tetris is actually my favorite game. So
wow. Yeah. That's incredible. What made you decide on Petaluma for your location? Do you live here? Do you just love downtown?
A farm.
So this is a funny story, and this kind of shows like just like how we're not just one-dimensional in terms of we're not just video gamers. So we were working the job at the nonprofit, and I think we were both kind of defeated about where the job was taking us. Like, I mean, we were basically making minimum wage at the time, which you think was nothing. And we were talking to her mom at her house, and they started going off about starting a llama farm.
Oh, funny.
And I'm like, what in the world? These people are crazy. Like, what did I get myself into? And that was pretty early on into her life.
My mom went around and goes, she's like, I got a llama book. And I was like, wow, I wasn't quite ready. Okay.
That's so funny.
It was alpacas, actually.
Oh, maybe it was alpacas. So we came up here for what was it called? We came up here for like a vacation.
Cool.
And we ended up in downtown Petaluma. I cannot remember the name of the hotel. Maybe it's just not Hotel Petaluma, but they have these what are those called? Airstreams. Like the trailers.
Yes.
And they had it so cute.
I love that.
Oh my god, you should check it out.
I do want to check that
They
out.
had like pink flamingos out, like fake.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god, it was so funny.
That's adorable.
And so we just walked around Petaluma and we're like, well, we really like this place.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward a couple years later, we ended up moving we ended up in Santa Rosa, but we really wish we could have moved to Petaluma. And then this life dictated that Petaluma was the place because it's a good spot. Yeah.
We looked around a lot. I think it was a little tricky that was like one of the hardest parts.
Yeah.
We didn't know the area. So I grew up in San Jose. He grew up in SoCal, but was in the Bay Area quite a bit. And like we didn't know the area. Right. So that was probably the hardest part is we didn't know which was like good pockets and stuff like that. I think I missed the first part. Did you talk about your birthday when we came up for your birthday? Yeah. So that was probably the selling point.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, you're totally fine. If anybody's watching on YouTube, we got a really cute little Lincoln in the video.
So this is the hero of time over here.
And he's doing his own gaming.
Yes.
I feel like your location being in downtown Petaluma too is just ideal for your target audience. It seems great.
Yeah, well, we got super lucky in a lot of ways. So, like, I didn't realize how much nerd culture was specifically in Petaluma. And for those of you who don't know, Petaluma is a really small kind of country town.
Yep.
That's grown quite a bit because it's pretty close to San Francisco. But, like, for instance, today someone came in who works for LucasArts, and, you know, he gifted me a little item. I don't know what it is yet because I just got it 10 minutes ago. But the cool thing about this is for a game for Star Wars 1313 that was canceled when Disney bought the rights to LucasArts. And so this happens all the time.
Wow.
And I never could have planned that.
Yeah.
2K's here, which is a major video game company,
Yes.
Activision, Toys for Bob, LucasArts. I get PlayStation employees, Nintendo employees, like, all sorts of this. And I never, ever would have dreamed of it. And we got kind of lucky with that, so.
The relationships you must make too in the store with these people, that's so cool.
The history.
The history is
Yeah.
probably the
my
biggest
favorite
thing.
parts.
Wow.
Well, speaking of relationships too, and it's not guaranteed, but there's a video game company that's kind of a startup in here, and they're making a game. And fingers crossed, knock on wood, our store will be in the game.
Oh, wow.
And I'm so excited.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so
It'll be really cool.
we'll see. Obviously, there's cuts and edits and all that stuff.
Totally.
But if it does
Oh
work,
my gosh, that would be
that'd be-
incredible.
yeah.
Oh,
Really,
I love
you're in
that.
a lucky area where they're just or fortunate
It's
areas. They're
rich.
just so much, so many of like the game developers and
Yeah.
and history of that stuff in this area.
She
It's
talked
really
about
cool.
her dad bringing home all these
Yeah.
computer games
Yeah.
before. Well, one of the games was Monkey Island, and it's a game that she has pretty fond memories of as a kid, and a lot of people know it. It was
It's
a
a really
LucasArts
funny
game.
game.
I don't know if
You
I played
fight
it.
by telling puns.
Oh.
So like the it's kind
love
of like
that.
you choose a funny pun
Yeah.
to respond.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's been quite a while since I played it. As a kid, I played it
Right.
a million times until it had this little wheel you had to do, and you had to make sure that you didn't pirate the game, right? To sell it,
Oh.
you had the code wheel that you'd have to use, and I lost the code wheel, so I couldn't play it
can't remember
anymore.
this.
So I played it obsessively until I lost the code wheel. But yeah,
So, like, is it still in production? Can you
They're-
get it still?
Yeah,
well, they've made a lot of new reiterations.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And we actually did buy her a copy of the
okay.
I
game.
have one with like
good.
the
I
floppy
was like,
disk.
wait,
It's
why
got
are
the
you-
wheel in it.
Yeah.
So
Floppy disk.
yeah.
And so the cool
Oh,
part.
the coolest thing
Yeah.
is that some of the folks who worked on it just happened into our store, and so they
Yeah.
would share all this like really cool background information on it, and then I specifically bought this copy so that I could get them to sign it. So I slowly had them signing it and stuff.
So I think we have like 4 signatures on there right now, and
yeah.
the 3 a.m. And
It's
then
really
like
cool.
there's a few more that we know
Yeah.
live in Petaluma
Yeah.
area, so we're
Wow.
it's pretty cool though, right?
That's
Like,
amazing.
And like
Yeah.
the man who voiced Launchpad, he just happened in our
Oh,
store,
yeah.
right?
So if you ever watched
He
the show
literally just
DuckTales,
walks into our store.
well, yeah, one of the main
Like
characters.
the cartoon one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
okay,
cartoon,
yeah.
So Launchpad, who was
Yeah.
probably the funniest part about that show,
Okay.
I love that show.
Yeah.
He lives in Petaluma, and
What?
he came into our store. He did a store signing because we asked him to. and
Yeah.
people loved it. And he's a funny guy. Like, it's funny. I was talking to the record store down the street,
Uh-huh.
Rain Dog Records, and he was like, "Yeah, dude, Terry's in the store right now, just hanging out with me." And I was like, "It's just a cool relationship
Really
that
nice.
we've developed." And
Yeah.
you know, the guy's super nice. He loves music. He loves
Yeah.
acting and all this
Yeah.
stuff. So
That
hearing
would-
those stories was really quite
One of
fun.
my favorite recent one was the Star Wars guy.
Oh yeah,
Okay, so we've been watching the Star Wars Clone Wars.
Clone
Yeah,
Wars,
the
it's
cartoon
so
show.
bad.
Is it bad?
No, it's
No.
really, really,
Oh,
really
oh,
good.
oh,
It's really
oh,
good.
oh, the
But
story
some
is
man
great.
walks in, and for some reason, we were talking about Star Wars. It was just super, like, I didn't
Just
know
lighthearted, yeah.
I didn't know he worked on it. And we're just like, oh, yeah, we're watching this, and it's so great. And I was like, it's one of my favorite Star Wars I've seen. It's just perfect. And he's like, oh, really? And he's like, oh, well, I worked on it. And I was like, what?
really?
Like, yeah.
Wow, that's so
Yeah,
cool.
and then he the part that he voiced was one of my favorite characters because it's like the funny, like it's such a funny part of the show, and I like that part. And it's the battle droids.
This is a battle droid. So all the characters that say
Yeah.
Roger Roger was
Yeah, he voiced it, and I was like, wow. Like, anyway, like you're the part that makes the show so great.
Yeah.
I believe he also
Wow.
worked on Monkey Island, if I'm
Yeah,
not mistaken.
he did work on Count, so.
What an unexpected
He
piece
was
of opening
yeah.
the store is
He-
all these
yeah,
connections.
he was just bringing his niece and nephew or something shopping.
Wow.
And it happened there. So it's like just
Oh
random.
my god.
But I think like one of the cool things is seeing all these pieces is if we had like another like I don't know a small long term goal, but like
Yeah.
we would love to do some kind of like potential museum somewhere in the future.
I love that.
We don't really have the resources to do it right now.
Money is a really finite thing.
Yeah, money and like in
lunch.
this area, just renting space is expensive.
Extremely.
And so, and really also just we're stretched pretty thin with what we have going on in our life. But we have a little glass case with like a mini museum in our back that we kind of rotate stuff through.
What about like a mobile museum?
That would be cool.
Because then you could drive around to schools or...
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's a guy
Maybe
down in Southern California
cost-effective.
who does something
Really?
similar. It's not, I mean, it's more of a moving art museum because it's he does all the Nintendo Power stuff.
Wow.
So if you ever saw like Nintendo Power, it has like cover arts and all that.
Right.
Well, all that stuff was hand painted or claymation or molded and all this
really
stuff.
cool.
And so he
That's
has a lot of that
amazing.
original stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty cool that he does that.
Yeah. That's
I didn't really
amazing.
get that. That's cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's a good idea, actually. To
I
like,
know,
it's like
I
a
was thinking of,
small
like, a
scale
less-
way of like kind of like getting in
Yeah.
your foot in the door and sharing that stuff.
Yeah.
And you could even do like farmers markets or things like that. Just have it there for people to check out.
You know, I take Lincoln
I don't know how you make money, but...
to the Sonoma Children's Museum, and at one
Oh,
point
it's
we
one of
were
my
trying
favorite
to.
places.
We just have such limited
Yeah.
time, but
Yeah.
even them, they were interested in us trying to do something there.
Oh, that's a great
Yeah.
idea, like an
Yeah.
exhibit.
Yeah, like a little, some kind of setup for them. But
Yeah.
it's just hard. I think
It's
when
hard.
he's maybe like 2 years older,
Yeah,
I'll have a
you're gonna
little more like
space.
mental space.
He's like,
to
speaking of
yeah.
Lincoln, you are too cute. So what were some of the challenges in kind of opening a store here, and how did you?
Well, let me pull
like,
my
what
list out.
was-
Let's get started on this.
Probably your only challenge was finding customers. That was probably the easiest part compared to everything else.
Something we didn't know would be easy because we thought I mean, you never want to
don't
fail,
know, yeah.
but you just don't know.
Yep.
When we were setting up, though, when you'd see all the people like
Oh,
sit in the
yeah.
window and be like, hey, like.
We even got some notes on the door, like, can't wait till you'll open.
Yeah,
and
it
all
was
this.
so we felt so
Wow.
like welcomed. It was a very
But it's such a
Petaluma
good
vibe.
community. that we
Yeah,
have
it was
here.
really sweet.
Yeah.
All the taps on the window when we were
That's
there painting the
amazing.
ceiling,
Encouraging
and, like,
you
at
and,
like
like-
1 a.m.
Yeah,
Wow.
God, we'd be at the store till
I'm
2 or
sure.
3.
Yeah,
you
I'm
know,
sure.
all sorts of stupid hours.
Yeah.
I think like one of the big challenges is although we've dabbled in things
Mm-hmm.
that were like kind of entrepreneurial or whatever you want to call it, like when I was a kid, I used to, growing up poor, I would go door to door and I'd be like, "Do you need your artwork done?"
Right.
And so I'd have a rake and a hula hoe in one hand, and I would spend hours
That's
upon
awesome.
hours doing that stuff. But I didn't realize like how much more goes into being a professional at what you're doing. And so it's not just oh, here's a video game, let me sell this. It's let me test this, make sure it works. I don't want you as a customer buying something that I don't put my full trust
That
into.
takes so much time.
And with used stuff,
Yeah.
and then not everything is well taken care of too. So like someone comes in with a box of stuff and it's covered in dust or
Right.
dirt and scratches on the CDs and all that. And so we make sure that like we put in so much effort so you don't have to.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that a lot of stores don't do that are secondhand, whether it's video games or
Right.
not. And so that was a big issue, like of just time that we just didn't understand.
I think another big thing was just like the unknown, like
Yeah.
like when you have a paycheck that somebody else gives you because
Yes.
you have a job, you know your job, you meet your job requirements, and every week you get a paycheck, right?
Stable.
And like I think just the unknown of like we didn't take income for a year.
Right.
We put it all on the table basically. And we were fortunate that we had this idea that if this doesn't work, it would be kind of unfortunate. It would be very unfortunate.
Kind of.
But at least the jobs we came from in that career field wasn't very hard to get back into. So it kind of like the risk wasn't. It's not like we had some super high up job or something that we were going to miss out on. But I think all the unknown, all the learning curve was very steep.
Yeah.
Very different curve.
Like I remember spending 2 weeks of just I don't know how to order merchandise.
Right.
Like what are
Right.
you supposed? How do you price this? I
Right.
started emailing companies. They'd correct me and they're like, "Oh, this is how you do it." I'm like, okay. You just put yourself
great
out
that
there.
they were helpful.
And so
Yeah.
they're all, there's so many nice people out there, and so I think that probably all the unknowns and the learning curve was pretty steep. Of there were so many moments that were like, I don't know if we could do this, and then we're like, we got this.
And I think that was one of the things that we complimented each other on so much is that there'd be days where I felt so overwhelmed, so I can't do this, and she'd be like, no, just take a deep breath, we got this, and then vice versa, she would be, oh my god, what's gonna happen?
Sitting at our dining room table,
paper spread everywhere.
be like, I don't know, how do you do this? How do you file for a business?
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
How cool that you figured it out together, though. I love that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing.
I literally don't think I could have done it on my own. And I think that's where those skill sets come in is like, you know, I hate paperwork and I'm not a fan of certain entities that are government related.
Right.
So I get frustrated when I start like, why do I have to give you this money? Like you didn't do anything for me. I'm the one doing all the work.
Right.
But then, so I get frustrated, but she's fortunately more calm-minded on that. And so she was able to do that. But then, like, there's some things where she's like, I don't want to deal with this. And I'm like, but I could do that. I got this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we just complement each other really well.
Wow.
Also, we're both very frugal, so we're like, we'll figure it out.
I love that.
True.
That
we don't have a lot of money.
makes for like a successful
Yeah.
business and a couple.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've made it so far.
Right? That's amazing. So, how do you source all the items in your shop? Like, how do you find them? Do people bring them in? Do you reach out to other, like, how do you, it's all secondhand, right? Or do you have newer things as well?
Well, starting today, we actually just started putting new product in the store for video games. But all of our plush and stuff like that is also brand new. We don't sell secondhand plush. But we just started doing new Switch games. So, yeah.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. It was cool because someone came in and was really excited to pick
They
up one
saw
of
the
them
post.
today.
I don't know how they saw it so quick.
I posted it before it's opened.
Yeah,
Wow.
the guy was there when we opened. He was
Yeah.
excited for the game.
So you sell Switch.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have
Yeah.
multiple Switches in our house. I should probably play them at
Oh,
some
yeah.
point. And
Yeah,
then I'll come
it's-
stop by the store.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Tetris 99. You will love it.
Oh, yeah.
Stop,
It's
that
so
We were
fun.
obsessed with that game
Oh,
for a
okay,
summer.
okay, then I
It's
should do
pretty
this.
fun.
It's so fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I gotta
You
bring
play
my
with your
kids in
kids.
too. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I gotta beat them. I'm a little competitive.
Exactly. You'll be staying up late.
Like, they're not gonna want to play with me.
Teach them to get better.
Right,
Exactly.
Totally. There you go.
Get better, kid.
That's awesome. So everything else people kind of bring in.
People bring in.
secondhand.
And it's changed quite a bit. Like before we opened, I used to source through yard sales and flea markets and thrift stores and all this stuff and contacts and friends and all this stuff. And like buy. And I don't do that as much anymore because now I spend probably more than I should just on stuff people bring us, which is amazing. We're so grateful that people trust us with what they're selling because, you know, like for instance, the reason I was a couple minutes late today is someone brought a small trade in. It was maybe 20 items, but they walked out with almost $600.
Amazing.
So like,
amazing.
they were pretty happy. They were actually beyond happy. Like they were like, that's $200 more than we expected.
That's so great.
You know, we try to be really fair and
Yeah.
treat people good because I know when I've been to certain game stores, I was not treated so well, and I'm like, you know, this is worth like say $700, and you're only offering me $100 for it. Like I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
It's like that part of the job is one of the more difficult part of the jobs because you kind of have all these different spectrums where you have people's treasures they're bringing to you. Sometimes it's just like grandma's stuff she doesn't care about. And she's like, I got this thing in my basement and I just want to give it to you. And you're like, we still pay her. But you know, there's that side and there's other people who are, I mean, some of it's really tough. You know, we've had several young people that have passed away and their family members are bringing us all their treasures and they cry, you know, absolutely. And it's just like,
it's nostalgic. Like
it's just really like, you know, you can't help but just feel for them, you know, and so on the bringing us items, you just get this, like, you kind of never know what's going to walk in the door and what the circumstances are around the things that you're getting, a husband, a son, a brother, you know, and sometimes it literally just mom doesn't want the stuff. And like, it's all good. Like, you like, we just don't play this thing anymore. There's most of the time it's pretty nice, you know, pretty chill. But it's, that part is that part's probably one of the more challenging parts of the job because it's kind of a weird negotiation with people. And again, it's hard because like we do have to make money off the item because otherwise we wouldn't be able to pay rent and stuff. And every single item has to go through this like pretty labor intensive process on our end, where it takes. It's probably one of the unexpected things about the job. I didn't realize how much it's not like you just open a box of which we do like maybe like. A third of the stores is where we open a box of plush. You know, you source them, I buy them. You know, we do effort in that side, but you could put a sticker on them and kind of pop them in the shelf. They're just ready to go. And but then the other side of it is you get these discs that are potentially scratched and may not work. So we have to test the discs to make sure they work. And then systems have to get open and you have to clean all the spiders out of them, you know, and like test all the buttons and find all kinds of interesting things. And the games too, like all of that is our liability. And so every single game. We're not perfect, but we try very hard, hard to get things clean so that, you don't have to wash your hands after you pick up the games you buy, you know.
That's a good rule of thumb.
You know, like things get recased, stickers. We have this mass. I wish we should have brought our sticker ball. We have this huge sticker ball now that started from literally just stickers at GameStop and stuff. We pull off all the old cases. Yeah. So that's pretty fun.
That's funny.
So that's the hard part of the negotiation side of things, that it's very people oriented. It's complex. Reading people, trying to understand what's going on, and then trying to help people understand the whole process, because like we have a process, and I wish I could just hand everybody money.
Yeah, I think it's hard to. Some people, like, you know, they think this widget is worth $100, and maybe it is worth $100, but like theirs is, you know, has X, Y, and Z flaws to it, and so we have to fix that or whatever it is. And so that much labor has to get put into it. So it's not like I could pay you $100 for it. Like, we have to make money. Plus, we have 2 employees that we have to pay their wages.
And I have to open it and solder something in or solder something out, or, I mean, put a new cord on it. There's so many things that
so many variables.
Each system is so intricate. A new laser, a lot of systems will need new lasers to get installed.
And you can do that. Like, you know how to put in lasers?
We're learning.
Wow. We're getting there. You know, like each year I feel like we develop kind of a strong new skill, and a lot of it's just time. Like for us, like to do the lasers, maybe it takes us right now. I mean, we're not super smooth at it. If we did a bunch at the same time, it reduces the time, but maybe like 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes. You have to open up the system. You have to get through all these layers of boards. You have to install the new system, and then you have to like tweak the laser to get it to read the game. So you have to mess with that, and then you have to put all the pieces back together. Right? And then I always like dust it at the same time. But
it's cool to learn new skills too.
Yeah.
I think you know, at our last job, like I don't want to say we mastered it, because you never quite master working with a human, but like we kind of got to this point where we're like, there's not much here that we have the ability to keep continuing with. But then again, we don't have someone telling us what to do.
Right.
So we get to choose like what skills we want to learn, what we want to do.
Which area we focus our time on. So, which is also a big challenge to not over focus on a Wii remote that's worth $4. You know, you know, like it's worth more than that. But like, you know, like it's tough. I always want to fix everything, and then I have to remember our business. And I'm like, well, we have a big box of stuff because we can't quite throw anything away. We've started setting some things out for kids who want to work on those things. So we'll set a box of like broken and sell them like super, super cheap, or give them away for free. And that way kids can, we've had a lot of kids come and they're like, oh, I got it working. And they'll buy the pieces and they'll spend the time. We just can't invest that much time in everything. But it's great. We had one kid do his senior project on I can't remember what system he took apart, actually. I think it was an NES, but I'm not sure. But repairing one, and so he wrote this whole thing about it, and he told us, and he shared it with us, and it was really cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah. That's actually one of the cool things too about the job, is that we, you know, because these kids come in and they're, you know, we've been open almost 6 years now, so that's a long time to see. You know, like a 13-year-old is now 19. And it's a massive change in their life, and
especially during COVID when we didn't see them, it was wild. It was like you walked through a time loop. And their voices had dropped, and you're just like, wait, I think I know you. I think I know you. And you're just like, no, wait, oh my God, it's you. Like, there was this like period, because even though we went back to work probably pretty early for most people, because we had to make money. So we don't have money if we don't have our store open. Well, he was only 7 weeks old when we reopened during COVID, because he was born 2020.
Wow.
So we had this, it was just him, me, because we didn't have employees at that point, because we were we had plans to get him after he was born. But because COVID, we're like, it was too complicated for us to get employees, so it was just the 3 of us for about 6 months. Lincoln, we made it 6 months on our own with a baby.
We had a crib, like in the front of the store. He just was chilling.
Like, look back on that and tell him that.
It's pretty wild.
Some parents are probably listening to this and like, you did what? And I'm like, he's fine.
We had an air purifier. The doors open.
I feel like it would be so cool to have your like clientele that you have for that reason, because I bet your customers are coming back in over and over, because you don't have like just standard all the same things on the shelves like a Target. You're constantly and they're so excited to come in.
Like when we don't have something that somebody is looking for that week, we'll just be like, hey, just check in again, because things walk in the door every single day, and it's happened. That's the funniest moment when you're like, or even when they're in the store and something is getting traded at the same time, you're like, just wait, it's right there.
Right.
Like, we got to make sure we make this deal first.
Exactly.
And then we can switch it over to you.
Amazing.
Sometimes or they'll see our Instagram and come in the next day. Like
right, there you go.
Or even the next hour.
The next hour.
That's amazing. What is the most unique item that you have in your store, that you have had in your store?
Okay, it's tough, right? We've had literally some one-of-one items come in, and it's one of those things where you can't necessarily like put a value on it
Right.
because it's the only one in existence that I'm aware of. Rebecca mentioned the mini museum that we have in the back of the store, and so that is full of stuff that is like, one of the guys worked for Visual Concepts, which I believe was taken over by 2K, but they were working on a game, Escape from New York, which is a big movie, and so it's a franchise people know, and they did all this development process for it, and then they couldn't get the license, so it was canceled. And so I have all the development paperwork from that. So like the whole story is written out, the drawings are in there.
That's really cool.
And that's, I mean, the guy was mad about the company, and so he was like ready to throw this stuff in the trash.
Wow.
And I'm like, no.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And then, I mean, there are like, how do I say, like someone worked for Capcom. No, someone's brother worked for Capcom, and they did this big contest down at what is it called, Comic-Con San Diego, which is huge. And no one won it, so the guy who works for Capcom gave it to his brother to use. It was an Xbox. Oh yeah. And then he was like, he had to use this, and he used it for Netflix, but it was a 1 of 1. And so this guy was using this thing as a Netflix box.
That's really funny. That's awesome.
But now I have that, and I think it's super cool to have this item that no one else in the world has.
Wow. And do people
Yeah.
sometimes not know, like the guy that used the Xbox for Netflix, did he even know it was a 1 of 1?
So
like,
he knew it was
okay.
rare. He didn't understand, like, he's like, oh yeah, this is like something from a contest.
At
My
least he
brother
didn't
can
donate it.
Yeah, which I think he was getting ready to donate it to, but not to Goodwill, to like e-waste.
Oh no!
I was like,
we
oh my
lost
God.
forever.
Yeah.
Because at least Goodwill, somebody might catch
Yeah, someone would have
that.
found it. I mean, someone for sure would have bought it.
For sure.
And, there's, maybe it's not the most valuable thing ever, but it's just cool because it's, again, a historical concept.
Totally.
And then we get video games in all the time. And those are, I'm maybe a little bit, how do I say, desensitized to it because like I see them all the time.
All the time.
But I think one of my still favorite parts of the store is when someone comes in and they pick up a game and like, I used to play this on X, Y, and Z with my brother, with my dad, with my mom, whatever it was. And they get so excited. I'm like, not a game that I care about, but I'm glad you do.
That's so cool.
I mean, that guy was talking about Rampart today, and I'm like, he's going off about this one game, and I gave it to him for free because last time I met him, he was just wouldn't stop talking about it. I'm like, dude, you can just have this, please.
This is for you.
Just take it. You are the person.
That's so awesome. So how do you see your store impacting both longtime gamers and newer generations that are discovering these retro games?
Ooh.
I think one thing I enjoy, or I think one of the not funniest, but I get a lot of funny questions, but one interesting question somebody asked us one time, and I don't know why I didn't forget it, but it was probably someone who grew up playing like NES and Super Nintendo, so that generation. He said like, oh, how do you get the kids to play like these old games? He looked at me and was like, how do you do that? Like, because, in his mind, it seemed like he wouldn't think that they would play it.
Right.
Yeah. And I was like, well, like, it's really not that hard. You literally just put it in front of them and they like playing it because it's still fun.
Totally.
And like surprising because I thought about that too, and it's just like they're still really fun. And so the younger kids still come in and they'll start collecting. Maybe they see it on somebody's streaming thing or something like that. Yeah, or they don't want to be a streamer or whatever it is. But they still really I'm be honest, I don't think the Atari holds up as well. Like,
I didn't say it. She said it.
No. but I didn't grow up with it. I've only played it like twice, to be honest. And I'm like, this is interesting. But you know what? To each their own, right? That's why you have Atari collectors that are and they're probably really good at it, and that's awesome. And I just am terrible at it, so it's not as fun for me. That's probably a big part of it.
There are certain games that are fun, but
I played one game.
It's like to me, it's
more narrow.
Yeah, we all have our things, but
totally.
But I think especially like starting with like NES, like. I mean, they're making new games look like those old games, right? Like, we just watched the Nintendo Direct yesterday.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, they, like, literally are using all the styles of the old games to make new games. And it's just, it's just people like them. They hold up. They're so super fun. I think, different eras seem to go through, like, growth spurts where they got a little funky in some of the games. Like, learning new control styles, especially when they, like, turn to 3D
like
stuff.
The late 90s, the mid to late 90s was kind of the experimental, like, wow, we have 3D processing capability now. But it was blocky and kind of ugly. Yeah, camera angles.
is pretty solid.
Well, that's what
and stuff.
that's like the
that's when it
like
really
2002, and it's really when it started getting better. But even then, it wasn't perfect. And so when the PS3 era generation, I'm so bad at console generations, but when that stuff came out, that's when it's like, and that's the difference to me of like vintage, not vintage, but like retro style versus like the HD style. And
I'll still play N64 all day long.
totally, it doesn't make it bad. I mean, graphics don't necessarily make a game good or bad.
Right.
It can help it, but like, I mean, you look at Tetris. Tetris is so simple.
It's a good point.
It's so fun though.
But it's
so
and anybody can
addicting.
just
yeah, anybody can pick it up. I
These
mean,
are
there's
really
moms.
making me
Like,
wanna
I mean,
Yeah, it's so true. That's so cool. No, I think those are all really good points, and I do think that's interesting too that we're kind of seeing like a throwback in the newer games they're designing too. That's amazing.
well, they're even so my favorite console is the original Nintendo. It's what I grew
Okay.
up on, and I went a little crazy with my collecting on it. Tapped it, just a tad, right?
It's just got its own room, or no?
It has its own room.
It does.
Now that you mention it, we designed a whole room. We have
That's
a very
awesome.
small house, and then Lincoln was born and it got smaller because there's toys everywhere.
Of course.
So then we had the only unused space was our garage. It was like super like you could see all the beams. Like there was no insulation and
wasn't
stuff.
finished,
So that was the easiest way for us to like. So he has a whole 2-car garage, except the laundry machine. It's all his stuff out there. But I like it because then it's
a
not
pretty cool
all in our
garage.
house.
I would pick that
Because there's
for
just
sure.
too much
Who
stuff.
needs a garage?
Yeah,
needs
exactly.
a
It's in
garage.
California.
Ours like takes up like ping pong table and a bunch of like sports equipment.
Aw.
Awesome, though.
So it's okay.
Which is
Yeah,
also fun.
yeah. That's awesome.
And so that's my favorite. But now Nintendo just announced that they're releasing this thing called the Nintendo World Championships, which was back in the 90s. They had a Nintendo World Championships, but now they're doing like this Switch version of the game, and it's cool though. But like, what's interesting is that it's all retro themed and it's styled like the old stuff, and it's just cool that they're doing that. And so I think that also helps kids get into the old stuff. Like, well, where does this come from? And so they get all like excited about it, and I get excited about it because I grew up with it.
Yeah.
And I mean, even if it wasn't Nintendo World Championships specifically, it's still NES related. So I pre-ordered 2 copies of it because I'm weird, and it's so here we are.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of ways to get people into it, and usually if someone sees something, they're like, it just sparks that memory, and it's like, we had a guy in the store the other day, and he comes in quite often just to play Street Fighter. And like,
funny.
Oh my god, he was so excited. He made it to the last boss on 1 quarter, and then he lost. And then one of my employees got him a quarter, and he put it in.
Funny.
And then I caught him on video beating the game, and like he's like this big giant man, like he's like super muscular and all that stuff. And he's like,
He looks like he should be in the game. You see a video of him, he looks like he has to be part of the game. Yeah.
So stuff like that just like, makes me happy.
I
And
was
then,
to say again, the connection with your clients, like that's just I love it. That is so.
Maybe
cool.
it's partly because of our background too. We kind of like.
are you saying he has a disability?
No.
Or
We all do a
background.
little.
Right?
No.
Right?
Just kidding.
I think that one other cool thing about that question is sometimes I think we save things from getting thrown away too.
Yes.
Not just like the super special cool
That's
things
a
like
really
the
cool point.
paperwork that they're gonna throw away, but we're kind of like a really weird recycling company.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
again, like when I always say grandma buy, it's not always grandma's bringing in. It's mostly like
People,
parents.
just
People,
so
if
many
anybody
people.
who's just
God,
like,
so
oh,
many
just
people.
sitting here. I mean,
Yeah,
I did the same thing when we worked together, and my mom told me, she's like, hey, I have this stuff I'm going to give away. And I remembered that my coworker Jason really likes this stuff, and I was like, "Hey, do you want this Nintendo 64? I don't.
No way.
Why would I?
And so she
What
gave
am
it
I
all
gonna
to
do
me.
with it?"
And I kept it all. I was like, because
Yeah.
a lot of stuff like
Yeah.
I would like, keep what I wanted and
Yeah.
like try to sell the rest to kind of fund buying more stuff. Because, we had minimum wage employee at the time.
Right.
And, but all the 2 things she gave me, which was Zelda Ocarina of Time, which was her childhood copy. I kept
Aw.
that, and I kept her in
Play that a
64.
Yeah.
And so she
It's
still
still
has her
sitting
childhood
there.
copy.
That's
Yeah.
so
Still has
sweet.
it.
I should have
I
brought
don't know
that too.
Why he brought it? Why he saved it? But he did.
Wow.
So we were just coworkers at that point. But that's
Yeah.
how my mom viewed it. That's
Yeah.
how I viewed it at the point. I was just like, okay, like I heard you like these. Here you go. Like, what am I gonna do with it? So I think a lot of times, people at least will bring us stuff. They don't. I mean, we do really, really hard to give like help, pay for them and stuff. But people just don't want them in their house anymore.
Yeah.
And so, if they get to e-waste, then e-waste will just do
Trash.
whatever e-waste does with them, and they'll never be here again. And so certain items you see, like say like the boxes of a Game Boy game, right? They're cardboard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the cardboard, or N64 cardboard. Like, it's like you open a toy, you open a G.I.
Right.
Joe, it's covered in
Yes.
a box, and who saves that box? No one.
Right.
The kids don't save the box unless you
Right.
have, like, one, maybe you're just really into boxes. I don't know, a few people are. But, like, all those things got thrown away, right? But here we are putting these boxes that we find in plastic cases to preserve them so that they now can last, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know.
Oftentimes the box is actually more valuable than the game itself nowadays.
Really?
Like for the old stuff.
For cards, especially
Wow.
anything made out of cardboard. That's what I've
cardboard
seen. And
specific.
Really?
you know, some will even have these little like foam inserts that are supposed to be in there, and some
my
won't. So like that
gosh.
changes values.
And then you
crazy
get into
stuff
like the
that.
collecting side of it. And it's like,
Really?
all right, so, oh man, these people get
Yeah.
crazy.
Like dents here.
Well, not even just that, right? So, all right, so there's one of the best games ever made, and this is empirical for sure. You know, that's not just opinion. Is a game called Chrono Trigger. It's a Super Nintendo game. It's a fantastic game. Well, the cartridge is worth a couple $100.
Okay.
If it's in the box and it has the manual, it's probably worth like $400 or $500.
Wow. Okay.
But if it has the registration card, which is literally just a card you would send to get it registered, so if anything happens, you can hopefully get your money back on it. That right there brings it from like $400 to $500 to like $1,000.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody's gonna try to check their copies now.
I know.
Well,
Like,
that's
we
stupid.
should, yeah.
You should, because
Also,
that
that's
registration.
so much information for you to have in your head about this.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
I still struggle with that stuff because
Yeah.
I am not
So do
the
I.
collector.
Yeah.
And thankfully, our two guys are really good too about
Yeah.
that stuff.
Wow.
But Jason is like an encyclopedia in his head, and
I try to.
I don't know how he does
but
it.
Yeah.
I learned a lot of other parts of the business, but I still am like, oh, which one's worth more? Like,
Yeah,
like,
right,
they look the
right.
same to me. Because it's not like which
totally.
game is fun. It's
That's
how
so
many they
funny.
made of the game
Yeah.
and all that kind of
Wow.
stuff. And so there's so much to it.
There's an N64 game where it's the same exact game. Everything's the same.
Yeah.
One of them has a -1, and if it has a -1, it goes from a $50 game to a $200 game.
Oh my god.
Because there's a glitch in the
Or the
game
5 screws.
where it will just delete your save data if you do the wrong, like the right sequence of events of the game. But this -1 fixes that glitch, and so
It's
now
obviously way more valuable.
Interesting. I mean, it's even things like you flip the NES, and this is me, non-collector. I find it a little
Right.
funny, right?
Yeah,
I'm just
right.
like, what? Like some
Okay,
NES
play. Yeah.
games will have like 5 screws in the back, and you're like, oh, it's a 5 screw edition. I'm like, but it's the same thing, right? And it's like, yeah, but it's got 5 screws or whatever. Oh, it's not the same. See?
Well,
This is how much
it's
I
the
feel
same.
like.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Right, but
like
it's
there's
not,
one game where it'll be $5, but the
Yeah.
5-screw version is worth like $600.
What
Like
in the
it's
world?
Extra
2 screws.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's really like
Yeah.
stuff that like it's so hard to keep track of all those
yeah,
details.
I can't imagine.
You know,
I can't imagine.
It's wild. I'm learning.
Wow.
I'm sure
slowly.
you do it too. Though.
I was gonna
mean,
say
like,
that's true though. It's whatever.
like there's a
field you're
lot of
in.
house
Yes,
stuff too.
that's
Like
true.
I couldn't do your
That's
job.
a good point.
Yeah.
Okay. All
I
right.
need
You're right. You're
skills.
making me feel better. I'm like, how does he have all this in his head? That's
Because I'm
very
an
true.
idiot.
Right? Right? Do you have any advice you'd give to any inspiring entrepreneurs that would like to open like a storefront?
Don't do it.
Don't like sleep.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think I was thinking about that question. I think I always, when people do come into our store quite a bit. We get it a few times a year at least, where they'll be like, "Oh, we want to open a this or a that." Like oftentimes it's a game store because they're coming to us, but other times it's something like an arcade or something like that, or just friends who want to do it. And I think the biggest thing I think that got us through the beginning stages of being like kind of clueless to like having a business was just breaking everything down into this like the smallest steps you can. And I think that's what got us through the like, okay, like right now, what's our first thing we have to do towards our business? And then you just focus on that. Like the first thing was just, I don't remember our
Coming
first
up with a
thing.
name.
Yeah, coming up with a
Oh
name.
my god, that was
kind of
so
fun.
hard.
I love your name. That was you guys did a good job.
you.
Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah.
And then like it's just like, okay, like how do I file whatever it is to become a business
Right.
with the federal and how do I
And
get
state
those
and
special
county and
numbers
all
and how do I
this
do
and-
this
Yeah.
and I think it's just like, okay, like just focus on that task, you know? And I
that.
think that's really I mean, even now it's the same. It's like we have a lot that we've already kind of gotten past the learning curve on. There's still stuff that like we're trying to figure out and learn as we go and how to expand and
Well, even
all
just
that kind
like
of
trying to
stuff,
make
but-
processes faster, right? So it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, that's
something that used to
huge.
take us an hour, maybe now only takes us a half hour, but maybe if we fix that process, it could only
Yeah.
take us 22 minutes,
Yeah.
which 8 minutes
Yeah.
might not sound like a lot,
that's
but when
a
you're doing that every single day, that adds up quick.
yeah, I feel like we're always trying to figure out.
Yeah.
change the store a little. I feel like we go through these. This is how I feel like I'm on a tangent, but we go through these stages where we're like, the store's set, and then every 6 months we're like, let's just rearrange everything and squish it
my
into 2
house.
shelves in, and like and like all of
Yeah.
a sudden we've reinvented some corner of our store so we could fit X amount more games in, so they're not sitting in storage and they're out for people to buy,
which is the goal.
Which is the goal, and so we kind of like, but I think the biggest thing for me to tell people is just to like slow down and take it like one tiny step at a time and not look at the big picture so much. 'Cause, I mean, you always want to have the big picture in mind, but I think it's very overwhelming when you try to do everything at once. So just do the first step and the second step, and then each time you'll accomplish it, and then you kind of can move on to the next thing to focus on. I think that was my favorite strategy for that. We spent, I don't know, like 6 pure months where I always tease people, like, we moved to Sonoma or Santa Rosa, and like we didn't like start exploring where we lived probably until, like, for me it was probably until maybe 2022. Because people were like, "Oh, you've been to this park?" I'm like, "Nope, I don't do anything but work." Like, and then COVID happened. We had a son during that, and so we had a baby, and then we were still working a lot. And so I feel like just the last couple years, I'm like, there's so many cool things here to do. Like, I love going out and seeing all this stuff. But I feel like that first bit we were here, we were so focused. We didn't own a business yet, really, but we were so focused on starting our business. We didn't do much except talk about it, plan it. I mean, clean games at home while watching TV constantly. We have lots of pictures of that. Just games everywhere.
Maybe, like, finding that balance moving forward of, like,
we're trying.
Like you're getting there, though.
We're a lot better now.
It's a lot better.
Yeah, we go through phases, but we're a lot. I mean, Lincoln basically helps force us.
I was going to say, he kind of forces you to.
He forces us to be more balanced. And then, we got 2 really great guys working for us, and we're
That's awesome. That's
so lucky to have them. Yeah. And they've really helped us step back. I mean, you were still at the store all day on the day off. So it happened. I'll work till midnight some nights.
Yeah.
One of my best friends just opened up a game store out in Modesto.
Oh, wow.
And it's funny watching him go through what we went through. Because, like, I wasn't sure, like, are we just, dumb and don't know what to do?
Right.
But no, everybody does this.
Yeah, really. It's a steep learning curve at the beginning.
With this type of business.
Yeah. I think if we had done almost any other kind of, I'm not saying others are like super easy, but I think it's the part where I do most of our merchandising, so like ordering product and setting them out, like the new stuff, so like Pokemon stickers or something, right?
Totally.
Like that part of the business is so much simpler because you're not negotiating. You're just saying, I'm going to pay for this thing. It's going to get shipped. Obviously there's hiccups here and there.
Clean.
It doesn't have to be prepared. You don't have to hope that it works. Like the risk is lower, and so you set it out. And I think that when I sometimes get envious of like other stores that literally just that's their main model of just like sourcing products, finding really cool stuff, setting up really fun in your store, and then selling it to the consumer. I feel like that part of it, we kind of picked a tough, because it's electronics and it's old. And it's, and neither of us are electricians. We've been learning a lot, but,
I think, maybe I'm jumping ahead now, but I think one of your questions was like, who's someone who's helped you throughout the business or start the business? I can't quite remember how you phrased it, but, I think like, if you look at who's helped us start the business, it was just her and I. Like, we put so much back and forth in it. But we have a really good friend of ours he's an arcade repair tech. Oh, and if it wasn't for him, there's so many things that I would not know how to do.
Teacher.
He's taught us how to solder. Incredible. He's taught us how to deal with things. And what are those little touchy things called where you can test the voltage and all that, like a voltage meter or... I don't know.
We use it like game of operation.
It's basically like you're testing all the.
It's like I think it's a voltage.
See how professional we are.
Yeah,
we need Chris.
Chris is my life.
He's also what
a voltage tester.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So he's taught me how to use all this stuff.
Yeah,
so he's been a massive help, and that's other people have taught to us, and like it's funny enough, I have a degree in psychology, but I went to a business school, and I never took a business class at all.
Right.
And I'm like a little mad about that. Actually, looking at what
now,
I do.
kicking your college self.
Yeah, I'm like but like at one point I did use those resources, and I'm like, hey, can I talk to any of the professors and just see if we're doing this right? And so I was able to get with one who I'd never met before, and he has looked at my business plan and like talked to me and was like, oh, well, ask yourself this question and do this. And you know, again, he wasn't the one person, but he was a part
we
of
have a
that.
lot of little
Yeah.
tidbits along the way, like
I love
family
that.
and friends and stuff that supported us, and even just to give you the encouragement to keep going when you're
Yeah.
like, what have I done? Like,
Yeah.
my job, like,
Yeah.
I don't have income. What am I
Yes.
gonna do? I
There's
hope we
a-
don't fail.
Right? There's a lot of things
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur. Yeah.
Oof.
So it's all
Yeah.
worth it.
But-
Just tiring.
But made it.
So far.
So far. And you know what's interesting too is it took us
Great
forever to
following.
open because it was hard to find a spot.
Yeah.
And then the first month after we opened, we had a massive roof
Oh,
leak.
yeah.
And like, I mean,
We lost half our store from
No
that.
way.
It was insane.
Yeah, we couldn't use it for, I think they never finished it.
It was like a year.
20.
It was like a year and a half.
It took so
yeah.
long.
Oh my gosh.
It was almost
We
2
made it
years.
work. We didn't lose it the whole time. We lost it for a chunk where we used the arcades to make a pretend wall and just
There
like
you
block
go.
off the back half.
But it was
And
bad.
then we
Forces you to be
slowly took it back
creative.
over. The one good thing
Wow.
is, well, good and bad, but from that whole situation, we ended up having the opportunity to take over the upstairs. So we took over
Oh.
slowly. After all that happened, we took over the upstairs to make it into our like gaming rental room. So we
Right.
have a big room up there where you can play games.
Oh,
we have
that's
all the
cool.
systems set up. We have like Switches, PlayStation 5. We have all the old
And then all
stuff
the old
too.
stuff,
We
too.
have an Atari.
We do have an Atari.
We have
Your
GameCube, all of it,
favorite.
all of it. So that's been really fun too. That's
Like a little blessing in disguise.
yeah. And then the
there
other
you go.
side we turned into like our storage, and then he has a big play area because he was a
Perfect.
baby, so we had this
Right.
big play pen he could just because I
Yeah.
got work, so
Yeah.
he has stuff to do.
I love that
Yeah.
he's grown up in this store. That's so
I know it's
cool.
a funny.
It's a unique experience.
He calls
It
calls
is.
it Daddy's house. So he's like, "Are we going to Daddy's house?" And I'm like, "Everybody's gonna think we're divorced." like, okay. And then I
Daddy's
started
house
calling
today.
it Daddy's
Yeah.
house,
There
and I'm
you
like,
go.
"Darn it, everybody's really gonna." And then I'm like, "You mean work? We're going to work to start."
That's so funny. That's adorable. So, kind of coming off work a little bit, what are 3 fun facts about each of you personally?
Ooh.
We decided that we're really boring.
yeah.
we looked at this question and we sat there this morning and we're like, Jason came up to me, he's like, what's 3 fun facts about you? I'm like, I have no idea. And then I really like tried so hard to think. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, we're really boring. Like we don't have fun facts. Oh, I counted how many
such a hard
animals we
question.
have.
Oh, how many animals?
40.
What?
46 pets, I think is what I did in the car.
They're
I'm like,
mostly chickens.
no, that's a
Okay,
fun fact.
but
46
That
pets.
is an incredibly fun fact. And you can do 46,
46 fun
combined.
facts.
What are your, don't do 46 fun
yeah, I was
facts.
like, whoa.
They each have
We're
names,
here all
but they
day.
don't.
Wait, what kind of, so they're mostly chickens?
We have a farm.
Oh,
A little tiny farm. I don't know if it's called a farm when it's tiny.
We have a
think
small
I'm
bit of
trying to
property
start
with
a
some farm
farm.
animals.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
It's
we
on
have
farm.
normal animals. We have a cat
That's
and
so
2
cool.
dogs. Those are normal. Those all have
Okay.
names. And then I can't remember
So
how many
names.
chickens. We have 18 baby chickens and like 15 full chickens.
Wow.
And then 6 pigs and 6 goats.
Wow. That
I
is a
can't wait to
fun
get
fact.
bacon.
They're really nice little goats.
Yeah,
Look
they
at her.
are.
She's like,
Not the goats. I don't want the goats.
Oh, pigs. They're
Pigs.
nice pigs too.
bacon.
I was filling
Yeah.
We got them a
I mean, I'll eat burrito too, or whatever it's called.
Totally.
Like,
I was out there filling their
Yeah,
pool
that's
this
so
morning,
true.
and they jump in and they're like, it's hard not. It's kind of sad.
That's so cute.
They're-
So
I'm not a-
46 temporary pets.
Yes.
Yeah.
yes.
The goats are forever, and the chickens
And hopefully the dogs.
and the dogs.
Yeah, they're on their last life right now.
I was my
Yeah,
most
that's
so
chickens
They're
and
puppies,
foster
so-
puppies.
Oh, they're puppies?
Well, they're just a little. I
About
don't
a
know. They're,
year. maybe.
they're a
Not
little
bad.
over a year. They're
Okay.
kind of annoying.
Yeah,
Still
oh,
the
for
annoying, difficult puppy phase where everything is
Yeah.
chewable.
And you're like, good thing you're cute.
We lost our 18-year-old dog
I'm
in
sorry.
November, and
December.
then going from that to 3. I took in 3 puppies. I only wanted 1, but
I
then
want 0.
I found out that they were in like a really crappy circumstance, so I took it. I'm like, I'll just take them all and rehome them.
Yeah.
And so I took them in, and 1 was neglected.
Oh.
And now he's
Probably
really-
more than neglected. And
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was really mistreated, and then I got really attached to him because now he really likes me.
he
Well, and
loves
those
her.
kind of dogs are hard because
He's
they
a really
need
good
that like
dog.
solid person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good boy.
That's so cool. Any other
Yeah.
facts that aren't boring?
Okay. So, yeah, exactly. Let's just stop with the boring stuff. Back to video games. So, one thing, so I have what's called a full licensed original Nintendo set. So
Whoa.
every game that was made for the system, I own for that was licensed. There are some unlicensed games, which
Yeah.
just means they weren't approved by Nintendo. This one right here is probably one of the holy grail of games. It looks kind of silly just looking at it. It's just a sports game, but this game's worth roughly $25,000.
Oh my gosh, I'm scared of you even holding it right now. Wow, no way.
Yeah, so this was like from 2007 to 2021, I think is when I got this.
Oh my god.
Like that was years and years of me trying, and there's almost 700 games. So
wow,
this was kind of my
like.
Oh.
Hey, you guys, you have very exciting. Like,
see, that's kind of fun, right?
Boring. And I think the animal one was good too.
That was good.
I don't know anyone else that has that many pets. That's really exciting. That's good.
So funny.
And we get eggs from them too. So
Well,
that's nice.
see, there you go.
That is
There you
nice.
go. Oh my gosh, that's amazing, you guys. Do you have any more fun facts?
Well, I'll continue a little bit with this.
Yes,
although
please.
this one is financially valuable.
Yeah.
This right here is kind of like my priceless item.
I love that.
This is the only thing I have left from when I was a kid that was like video game related. It's pretty similar to her copy of Zelda, although I don't think she has as much of a crazy weird attachment to it like I do. But so this is something my mom got me for my birthday when I was younger because I played Tetris so much.
Oh my gosh.
And so it's just cool that I still put that on
Sentimental
this.
value of that
Very
is
sentimental.
everything.
It is.
That is so cool.
And you know, my mom passed when I was 16, so like this kind of,
sorry.
you know, kind of a cool
Ties it all
encapsulating.
in.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh gosh.
So,
yeah, that's even more like valuable than the other. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. So for anyone that hasn't been to your shop, where can they find you?
Yeah, so we're located at 36 Petaluma Boulevard North, which is, for people who don't know the area, we're about an hour north of San Francisco.
Great.
We are on Facebook and Instagram. I do have a TikTok, but I'm really terrible at using it because I am too much stuff.
yeah, that's hard to keep all of that updated.
Dude, it's oh my
a
gosh,
whole
don't even get me
full-on
started.
Business. Yeah.
Yeah, and people do it as a business, and I'm over here
Well,
trying
that's
to
a
do
good
it
point,
while
'cause you
doing
can sell
everything
it.
else.
Yeah, that's true.
But-
People could buy
Social
things.
media is a lot to manage, man.
It's a
Yeah.
lot to
My
manage.
face shut up.
That's
Uh-huh.
Tetris. You can hold it. And so
so cool.
we're on, so it's just Nostalgia Alley. So
Great.
Facebook.com/Nostalgia Alley or search Nostalgia Alley and Instagram. And I think for both of those social medias, I'm pretty good at responding to stuff. TikTok, again, I am barely ever on there.
So you
I-
might not hear back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you know, we try to have fun. And,
What's that?
yeah, I said we try.
Well, I think you work in a really fun industry, though. So that's
It is awesome. It's sort of like,
Yeah.
that's definitely one really cool thing about where we work. When I describe, I mean, there's moments I'm sitting out plush and I'm just like, these are cute. And I'm just like, have this massive pile. I'm like, who else gets to do
That's
this, you
John
know?
over
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
Yeah,
That's my thoughts.
yeah.
And then there's other moments where you should see like families come in and jump on the arcades like dad and their kids,
That's
and they
so
just have a
cool.
blast with these arcades, and that's you know, they'll put the stool up so the little person can get up higher even, and it's really fun to see that. And I think it's sort of, for a lot of people, it's like a I don't know, it's like as happy as you think a toy store is, where just everybody's excited, like it's just fun, like it's just fun stuff. Everybody.
I know that toy store.
I do too. Can I come with you, Lincoln?
I actually have one more fun fact.
Oh, what's that one?
So Lincoln here has been playing video games since about 11 months old.
Oh my gosh.
He would push our step ladder. We had like a little
Yeah.
2-step ladder. He would
Wow.
push it to an arcade. He would go and grab quarters. He would put the quarter in the machine. He didn't know what he was doing to play it, but he would get up
Boy.
there and he would push the buttons
Yeah.
and move the joystick, and he would go all crazy with it.
I have lots of videos of doing. I always felt funny because he grew up in the store, so I was really used to him being
Yes.
pretty independent in the store.
Yes.
But not all the other moms that came in the store were.
It's like,
He's like
who's this
pushing
random
the step
child?
ladder up and like climbing up himself, and you can see like, there'll be like a mom go over and like stand next to him. Like, oh my god, my dad, mom. Like, I'm so used to, like, he doesn't fall that much.
Yeah,
Like,
not that
I don't think he was
often.
11 months. He did, maybe a little older.
Well, he started
but-
playing when he was
That's
about
funny.
11 months, but
That's
like he would
amazing.
do the pushing and the
Yeah, he
stuff
got
with the
really.
keyboard.
I mean, before he could talk, for sure.
Yeah.
He was
Wow.
doing it because he would make a lot of noise. That was fun.
That's so
You know
cool.
what I wanna
Fun memory
know?
for all of you.
I want to know what your fun facts are.
Oh my gosh,
Oh.
somebody else asked me this the other day. I was like, wait, no, not allowed.
Pressure.
No, cut. No, I don't know. I do need to actually come up with 3 fun facts and share. It is, yeah. I feel like I share like a lot of little tidbits throughout my podcast.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know what mine would
Okay.
be either, and I do need to work on that.
You look like someone who likes to go shooting.
No.
No?
Do I look like that though? Oh, that's very
Yeah,
cool.
that's.
I
think
wish
that'd
I
be
was
cool.
that cool person.
No, yeah.
No, I
He's-
don't
One of
know.
Jason's hobbies.
I don't know. I
Right?
get the vibe.
Oh, that's awesome. I feel like
Yeah.
that's good that I put off that. No, I
People
think
mess
a
with
lot
you.
of kids. I have a lot of kids.
That's why
one
nobody
fun
messes
fact.
with her.
Right?
She's got
There you
kids,
go.
man. She knows how to handle it.
Yeah. Workaholic. Is that a fun fact? You guys can relate.
It's
to
real. It's California life.
California life.
Yeah. You said your kids play sports?
Yes, we have dancers and football players in our house. Competitive, yeah. So they're busy schedules.
Yes.
Yeah.
Should get them into wrestling.
I know. Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
And you know, the boys haven't gotten, well, and the girls too, haven't gotten into wrestling, but maybe that's something down the line. That
Are you guys in
we should
Petaluma?
Oh, that is
Yeah.
a fun.
Oh,
So
that's
there's
a huge fun fact.
multiple Petalumas.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I coach college wrestling.
Yeah, there we go. That's amazing.
I'm
Yeah.
so used to be doing it for the last so many years that it's like it's just life,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
to me, it's not fun. I mean, it is fun actually. I really enjoy the sport. But women's wrestling is
Right.
actually the fastest growing sport in America. right now,
Really?
so
Oh,
it's
that's
crazy.
cool.
Yeah,
That's
and there's some
really cool.
studs out there. And
Wow.
most of the best wrestlers
Yeah.
for the women specifically come from California. So
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we're tough over here.
I guess so. Or the other ones aren't doing it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
definitely. That's
We're gonna say
awesome.
tough.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming
course.
on
Thank you for
today.
having me.
It was so interesting to kind of step into your world. That's so exciting to me. So I love that you
cool.
came and shared, and I definitely
Yeah.
need to bring my kids in for sure.
Oh, yeah,
I hope
please
other
do.
people that are listening do too.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you for listening.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having us
Awesome.
on.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Bye.
Say bye, Lincoln.
Bye, Lincoln. Say bye.
If you like what you hear, please be sure to like and subscribe, learn more about Sonoma County and all that we have to offer here.